Yorkshire and loving the BBC Listening Project. A chance just to hear two people sit down and chat about all sorts of things. It's our second trip to the Listening Project this week. Earlier in the week, we heard Alison and Carl's conversation about caring for their parents. And it's something completely different this morning. It's the turn of, well, really, couldn't leave the Listening Project and couldn't leave Scarborough without hearing from a couple of people involved in Scarborough's fishing industry. These are two special people, 84-year-old Colin and his 34-year-old grandson, Will. The earliest record of their family fishing in North Yorkshire goes back to 1754. And Colin and Will are both carrying on that tradition to this very day. Colin has been married to Rachel for 59 years and lives in Scarborough's old town with their 9 dogs. Will lives with his partner and 2 children on the outskirts of Scarborough. At the grand age of 84, Colin still goes out fishing 4 times a week for crabs, for lobsters, and for cod. This conversation was recorded in Colin's rather unique front room. It's identical to the inside of a ship's deck, complete with a helm. Honest. Will starts.
I used to feel very proud when I was a kid, going to sea and then coming in. I've been out there and all my mates are saying, "Hey, you've been at sea, Yeah. 4 or 5 days. 7-year-old, weren't that bad, was it?
No, it weren't. I first went to sea with my dad when I was 4, before the war.
I think that was
Maybe a lot
about
of
7.
us can say that, I wouldn't have thought.
No, aren't they?
That was in a boat called Gloria, 50-footer.
I think I was about 7 or 8.
Well, I went a few times in just at end of war when our kid went and I was at work very hard then. Quite lucky, I suppose.
I mean, when obviously when I went trawling with you, 2001, full time from school, we were crabbing straight away. We used to get quite a lot of crabs then.
Yeah, you used to do it then, didn't you?
Yeah.
You used to go crabbing, didn't you?
Yeah, we didn't bother so much with lobsters, did we? But we didn't get a very good price then.
No, you weren't. But you were getting a few crabs though, weren't it?
I think we had. What did we have? 62.5 boxes of ours at Shannon, didn't we?
Yeah, Dad always only got them aboard a boat, I don't know.
14 or 15 down that fish room. The deck was just full. All the way. It was one Saturday.
But I mean, when we got Pride, there was plenty of fish about then. We got her in 84.
When did you open pipes up then?
Well, it was about 86, 87 we started piping. And then there was tons of fish on pipes. When we finished with Pride, there weren't a bone on it. It had moved north.
Yeah, it just went
to be a lot further north, and it had to be in 60 fathom to catch out.
Yeah. It's going further north all the time. It was said 20 years ago, wasn't it? It was climate change and nobody would believe us.
No, but they know it's climate change now, don't they? Everybody's panicking now.
I can always remember it was absolutely booming. You'd been on a Thursday morning. He used to pick us up to take us to Tea Shack.
Yeah.
And go down and have a sandwich. And there'd be just be full of people everywhere, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely booming. I used to walk on pier and there'd be that many blokes on there. I couldn't even remember them all and be going, "Hey up, it's young Wills. There was that many of them. Now you just walk on and there ain't a lot left, is there anymore? Really, I don't know.
No, there ain't, I'm afraid.
It's quite sad, isn't it? Hopefully a few more people will get into industry because it's not like it ain't good. Crabs and lobsters.
Well, my dad always said I was going to learn a trade. He says, "There's only one job I'm doing, it's fishing," so that was it.
I can remember my dad saying to me at one point he didn't want me to go to sea, but it was all I ever wanted to do, really. I never saw myself being anything else. I mean, I was quite good at football, but I weren't bothered if I didn't do that because I knew I was always going to go to sea no matter what, really. I'd be with you, my dad, Uncle Phil and that. I loved it. It was just brilliant. I wouldn't change it for out. I'm sure you won't, would you?
No, certainly not. What two very, very fine gentlemen, 2 different generations of the same family. fishing in Scarborough. How about being able to trace your family profession back to the middle of the 18th century? That's not bad going, is it? Our thanks to them for recording their conversation. Really, you've just got a feeling that we've been hearing two men for whom fishing is in their blood. Let's just talk a little more about Scarborough's fishing industry this morning with Mark Vesey, who is chairman of the Scarborough Maritime Heritage Centre, and he joins us live from our Scarborough studio this morning. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Jonathan.
Is it just me, or is there something extremely powerful and quite moving about that conversation, even though we've only just heard a little clip of it?
That's right. I mean, we have retired fishermen volunteer in our maritime museum, and the love they have for fishing and being out on the water. It's kind of like I can only liken it as a landlubber to sort of hunter-gatherer mode. They're out there, against nature and the elements at the crack of dawn with the sun coming up in their own boat that they've invested hundreds of thousands of pounds in. They're their own boss, and they're out there hunting fish. It really is something primeval feeling they have, and it is. We say there's salt in the blood, and it really is. They love it, and they get miserable when they got on shore.
Hunting fish, yes, that's not. I've never really thought about it that way, but you're absolutely quite right. There was also, I don't know, there was a slight tinge of melancholy or sadness about that. Is that because what they're talking about is a dying industry, a dying profession? Do you think?
Absolutely, yes. Obviously we had the EU quota system come in quite a few decades ago, and a lot of the boats were physically cut in half and dismantled. And fishermen, talk about they were in tears at that time when they saw their boats being destroyed. The quotas now for the fishing industry around Britain is in the hands of a very few people. It's like farming and supermarkets are in control of big people, and the little guys don't have much say anymore. So we're back down really now to crab and lobster fishing, and we're actually the second largest shellfish port in the country now after Bridlington. So there's mostly inshore stuff, so it's not the sort of big game hunting as it were in the old days. It's all a bit more inshore now.
We shall talk a little more about it in a moment or two's time and find out more about the Scarborough Maritime Heritage Centre, of which you are chairman, in a minute or two's time. We'll take a short break for some splendid You Somebody from Kings of Leon. It's 10 minutes to 11. There's traffic and travel news from David in about 5 minutes' time. We're chatting to Mark Vesey this morning, chairman of Scarborough's Maritime Heritage Centre, just reflecting on the conversation that we heard from, two rather magnificent gentlemen. Colin, 84 years of age, still goes out fishing 4 times a week, and young Will, who's a mere 34 years of age. We were talking, Mark, really about fishing in Scarborough these days, and you talked about the sadness as fishing vessels were cut in half, literally cut in half, as fishing quotas did for much of Scarborough's fishing. What's the town situation? I know you're about heritage, maritime heritage, but what's the town situation with fishing at the moment? Are there many people putting out to sea?
As I say, we're the second largest shellfish port in the country. So we've got scallop dredgers that actually come up sort of from the south coast and base themselves here. We've got about 4 trawlers that still go out Dogger Bank and further distances. The local boats really are the small crab and lobster boats. So the harbour's, looking a bit of a pale shadow of its former self. You look back, in the 1950s, I think we were the 7th largest herring port in the country, and the harbour was literally full from end to end with boats catching the herring shoals that swam down. And of course that's the origins of Scarborough Fair. That was the Scarborough Fair was all about trading herring, and that has all gone. But we've got quite an exciting development now. We've got a seaweed farmer setting up, and this could be the future apparently in seaweed farming.
Go on, tell us more. Seaweed farming.
I think you grow it on ropes. You sort of, it's like you grow mussels, I think, far out at sea. You hang ropes in the water, grow seaweed, this kelp that grows really quickly, and you can make it into food products, makeup, packaging. It could replace plastic packaging. So it's really exciting. It's very early days in Scarborough, but I think in other, like Thailand and the Philippines, I think they do it on a much bigger scale. So who knows, that industry might come back and we could get some young lads into, won't be fishing, but it'll be bringing back seaweed.
Well, it does. It's something to do with the sea, which is quite important, really, to utilise this this natural resource. How did Scarborough in its day? How did it compare? Because I mean, my sort of early knowledge, if I had any knowledge at all, of fishing was based around the ports of Hull and Grimsby, because I used to work for a neighbouring radio station about 30 years ago that served Hull, and it was a time when there was a fantastic play on at Hull Truck Theatre Company called the Northern Trawl. And that was all about the deep sea fishing industry. It was about the conflict with Iceland and the great disasters of, well, I say great disasters, horrific disasters of the Ross Cleveland and the Kingston Peridot and the St Romanus going down and things like that. Did Scarborough have a part in that, or has it always been fishing nearer to UK shores that's happened from Scarborough?
I mean, the herring obviously swam down the North Sea, but yeah, some of the trawlers used to go out to Dogger Bank and beyond. We didn't have the big trawlers, the big sidewinder trawlers that you're talking about in Hull. As you say, there's the famous film, isn't there, about Big Lil and the battle for the safety over the trawlers. But I mean, we had tragedies here as well. 13 fishing boats, trawlers, were sunk during the war by torpedo, by the German submarines. And fishing was sort of decimated here during the wartime, but obviously it came back. But as I say, by the 1950s, I think we'd started to fish out the herring. We'd got so good at catching it, and then the tuna fish that used to eat that and swim down here, that disappeared as well. So the stocks were I mean, decimated is a bit of a strong word, but
the great tunny fishing that brought in those Hollywood celebrities that you can still see on pictures of them on walls of a certain fish and chip shop and a bar in Scarborough. You can see some extraordinary celebrities, can't you?
I think that they landed the heaviest tunny, they call them here, tunny fish, in the UK, 851 pounds. I mean, it was the size of a great big shark. And apparently they didn't even eat them. They used to give them to a farmer to plough into his field as fertiliser. And they'd be worth thousands of pounds now.
And I was going to say, enough to have your Japanese millionaire restaurateur flying out to Scarborough to get them, I should have thought.
A lot of our lobsters fly out to Japan now. They often go to Scotland and then they're flown out to Japan and foreign places. So Scarborough lobsters end up all over the world, actually.
It's weird, isn't it? Yes, the thought that you might be sitting down in a bar, I don't know, in France or Spain and be brought a crab, and that crab was caught in Scarborough or Filey or something like that, not in the Mediterranean, not where you might think it might be. Just tell us briefly about the Maritime Heritage Centre, of which you are the chairman. Whereabouts are you, and what can people see and learn from you?
We're on Eastborough. We've been open 10 years now. It's our 10th birthday this year. And obviously we've got loads of stuff about the heritage, the harbour, but also about the town and the people. People come and do family history research. And tomorrow we're opening, very excitedly, our new telephone box on the seafront, the last red telephone box in Scarborough on the seafront. We've converted into a mini maritime museum. So that will be open 24 hours a day, every day of the year. So you can pop in there and have a little audio commentary and see pictures of these great herring fishing fleets and the tunny fish as well.
What a wonderful idea. It's been great to speak to you this morning. Thank you very much indeed for your input and sharing your knowledge of Scarborough's fishing industry alongside the conversation from Colin and Will as part of the BBC Listening Project. Mark, nice to speak to you. Thank you for coming in. Cheers, man.